Please welcome Ylva Johansson, the Swedish Minister for Employment and Integration.
Good morning, everybody. It's an honor to be here. And I would like to share with you some of the Swedish experience, and now we focus on three things: how we tackle digitalization and the restructuring of the labor market and industry. Second, the gender equality. And third, also the new challenges. Sweden is one of the countries we're taking the biggest responsibilities among the OECD countries when it comes to refugees and how we deal with that. But just to start with my conclusion, actually, inclusive societies and initiatives for bridging gaps and avoiding gaps, it also fosters innovation and growth. And that's really our experience. Just to give you one example, 25 years ago, when people started to have PCs at home, this was especially for white-collar workers at a high level in the industry or at the workplace, who had opportunity to buy a computer to have at home. And then the Swedish government took an initiative. This home computer, home PC, should be for everybody. So we took an initiative to make it affordable for everybody to have their own PC at home. And that was, of course, because we would like to have an inclusive society. An extra bonus that we didn't know was that the generation who grew up with a home PC, playing with the PC games all the time, this is now the generation who have made huge success international with a lot of innovative ICT companies based in Sweden. So this is also a bonus that we can see. But if inclusive societies are fostering innovation and economic growth, it's also the opposite with inequality. Inequality is a negative effects trust in society, as well as social stability and social peace. And this will also give a breeding ground for xenophobia or racism, actually, protectionism, extremism. So we are facing global challenges in a number of areas today. We all know that globalization has opened up the world, strengthened economic growth, lifted hundreds of millions of people out of poverty, and raised living standards for billions more in recent decades. But politicians and business leaders around the world have not been sufficiently effective in distributing the benefits of globalization and addressing its downsides. We must address the growing public skepticism concerning the advantages of free trade and globalization and the growing populist forces. It's time to make globalization work for everyone. This is why Sweden and the Swedish Prime Minister has the initiative to the Global Deal for Decent Work and Inclusive Growth. It's a multi-stakeholder partnership developed in cooperation with OECD and ILO to encourage and support governments, employers, businesses and unions to enhance social dialogue and contribute to equality industrial relations. It's now a global partnership with some 40 partners, and we hope more will join. Experience show that strengthening the social dialogue and trust between employers, workers and government usually deliver very good result on decent works. Strong trade union organization that can effectively conclude collective agreements, labor legislation and access to equal education can reduce any inequalities arising from globalization. We know that countries with low income inequality tend to have strong social dialogue institutions, leading to a reduction of the gender pay gap and better working conditions. And Sweden is one of these countries. We have a long-standing tradition of collaboration between the social partners. 90% of the Swedish labor market is covered by collective agreements. The social partners have huge responsibilities and huge powers, and they're actually using it in a very responsible way. We have a social pact to say, we do not protect jobs in Sweden, we protect workers. And this has been a social pact for many years, and it's been very, very good for the reconstruction of labor market, ongoing reconstruction. We have a very high level of reconstruction in the Swedish labor market. We are not afraid of new technology. Swedish workers are not afraid of new technology. They're afraid of old technology. Aren't we fast enough to implement new technology so that we could be in the forefront of the innovative economy? But the social pact needs actually the government to step up to actually deliver some protection of workers. And this is, of course, very, very important. I can't go deeper into that right now, but we have a very well-functioning labor market. We have had an increase in real wages for 2 decades now, every year. And that's also with a competitive economy and a very strong economic growth. And we have a good partnership how to foster innovative and ongoing changes in the labor market. We also have gender equality as a very important aspect. Sweden has a high level of women's employment rate, almost the same as men. And that is thanks to good initiatives like individual taxation, a generous parental leave arrangement, and also childcare that is affordable and of very, very high quality for everybody. This has been good, but we still have things to deal with. For example, still 30% of the Swedish women work part-time, and that is really a challenge. But nevertheless, we have demonstrated that women's labor market participation is a precondition for, not an obstacle, to maintain an increasing levels of fertility. We have quite high fertility rates in Sweden. And my last point is the immigrants. We now are facing in Sweden huge challenges with a lot of refugees coming to our country. And of course it's a challenge, but it's also an opportunity, because if we can actually help them into the labor market quick enough and be integrated in society, this is the missing part in the demographic jigsaw in my country. And they're actually here. So we can do it, and we are doing it in the Swedish way together with the social partners. So we are fostering and forming fast tracks for refugees and newcomers into the labor market together with the social partners. Thank you.